This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Yesterday, our Recollections May Vary put out a video that was quite thought-provoking. And in this video, she covers this interview that Samantha Markle did back in 2019 with this local news station in Florida. Now, I vaguely remember this interview, if at all, because back in 2019, in the United States, people were not focused on Harry and Meghan. Like, we didn't care. And I do think that it wasn't until after Oprah, that's when people started to look at this a little bit closer. I know for me, that's when I started to say, well, hey, things are just not adding up. And then at that point, that's when the campaign to deplatform and to censor other people online really started to kick up into high gear. We started seeing people getting pulled down from Twitter, channels being demonetized, trolls going after various content creators. I mean, that literally began between 2021 up until Elon Musk had bought over Twitter, now X, was when we faced the most abuse. So in that window of time, Samantha Markle, her name was practically everywhere in the abuse that she had been facing with all the Sussex Squad sugars. And I think for the most part, we all felt really bad for Samantha Markle because we saw how vicious Meghan was, especially lying her face off on the Oprah interview. And I think after the Oprah interview, we started to see minds start to shift from, oh, the Markles are not opportunists. They were right the whole entire time. Meghan did go in and tried to destroy the royal family. And all the things that they said that were going to happen in the very beginning actually did come true. And we all lapped it up and we were part of this saga. In fact, Samantha Markle, was welcomed into the community, of which we saw what has been going on over the last several months, as well as uncovering a lot of the manipulations that have now been uncovered as a result of taking a second look at and looking closer into, to where we're starting to see that the signs were all there, which is to drive more regulation in the online space to control free speech. And while everybody may think that Samantha on the surface is supportive of freedom of speech, our Recollections May Vary makes a great argument here in her video about her being a hypocrite around it. Now, for the most part, some of the things that our Recollections May Vary lays out here makes complete sense as to why you can come to that kind of conclusion. Now, I'm not going to get into this video. I think it's one of those that you need to go over and check it out for yourselves if you're interested and come to your own conclusion. Why I'm bringing it up is because it's one of those videos that gets people thinking. And for me, that's exactly what it did, which led me to fall down another rabbit hole, but I think filling in more of the gaps and understanding what really is going on. So the first thing that I did here was I wanted to see this interview uninterrupted in its entirety. So I went to the local news station, found the video, and really listened to what Samantha Markle was saying, using her words again. These are her words. So there should be no one being upset that we are talking about or making up stuff or twisting it. These are their words coming out of their mouth.
It's not just me. It's happening all around the world to people. And these people know that they can get away with it or they think they can if they go hide under a VPN. Hey, they won't know my ISP if I do this through a VPN. So it makes it harder for law enforcement to get them. So one of the things that Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and others can do to help law enforcement and help keep their participants safe, biometrics. If you get on your computer to sign in, you're using face recognition or your fingerprint or your ID. Is that a violation of freedom and privacy? Hell no, because they're out there violating others' freedom and privacy to the extent of criminal acts. Criminals are not guaranteed anonymity under any law. And if they're going to be out there, they're breaking laws and committing crime, you're not entitled to privacy and protection under the law of your face and your ID and your... No, I think you have an onus as a mature, responsible user of these social interfaces to be transparent. Not out there committing criminal acts, and I'm going to prove it by letting everybody know who I am.
Now, after listening to this again with a fresh pair of eyes, knowing what we know now, I find this highly disturbing because the way that this was manipulated to us, remember, she didn't have people believing her. She didn't have people on her side. And the whole point of getting people to agree to regulation is for both sides to see the problem. So what do you think Samantha has been doing this whole entire time? She has been playing opposition, but making the case as to why we need this regulation. The same argument that Meghan Markle and Harry are doing for the left side. Now, at this point, I'm sure there's quite a few of you saying, oh God, here goes TRG again, going down her crazy conspiracy theory path. No, I'm asking you to please stick with me. It will all make sense in a second as to why I'm saying this. Oh, and before I forget, if you could do the kid a favor and hit that like button. Also, if you could take a quick moment to check and see if you're still subscribed and your notification bell is turned on. I get a lot of comments stating that they've been unsubscribed from the channel, and I'm here to tell you that it is happening. I see it in my dashboard, and I see that YouTube is continuously unsubscribing people to not allow me to pass this 111 threshold. Now, look, it's annoying. It's frustrating. At the same time, I still am very grateful to have this core base of people who are here because they care. And that means a lot. Okay, so let's now dig right into this, getting back to Samantha and this interview. So it was this part that sent me down the proverbial rabbit hole.
For someone like me, I'm a counselor. I'm pretty intelligent. I think I can handle it and analyze it for what it is.
Yeah, after hearing that, it provoked me to look into Samantha Markle's education. And the first thing that came to my mind is the graduation photo with Samantha holding her diploma with Meghan. Now, we've all seen this photo many times over, as it has been circulating for the past 5 years to show how close Samantha and Meghan used to be. As with everything with Harry and Meghan, as well as the Markles, nothing is ever consistent. There's always questions that linger and does not seem to make any kind of sense. And this photo is no different. And so for me to understand when and where this took place, naturally, I wanted to see what this certificate looked like. So when you zoom in on this picture, you can't make out any of the details. None of it. Not her name, not the university, not the year, nothing. All the photos that we have been fed of Meghan and Samantha together, you cannot make out what's on that certificate. Now, it's a good thing that I have one of these weird memories, as I do recall seeing this actual certificate. It was from Samantha herself in an interview that she did with Inside Edition. Check it out.
Been at least 18, 19 years ago, and before that, 10 years before that.
But here they are at Samantha's college graduation in 2008, 13 years ago. Meghan also claims Samantha only changed her last name to Markle after her relationship with Harry went public in 2016.
I was a Markle before she was. I thought that was kind of weird that she would say I only changed my name back when she met Harry. Markle's always been my name.
She showed us her petition for name change dated December 1997 and her college diploma.
We will briefly touch upon that name change a little later on in this video, as there's some questions that I have. But for our purposes now, it's showing you that this is what the diploma is supposed to look like. So here's a photocopy that Samantha Markle approved to give to Inside Edition. Along with that, an actual photo of the certificate was also provided to various media outlets. And here it is, folks. Does this look anything like the certificate that Samantha Markle is holding in her hand with Meghan? It looks nothing like it. So help me understand, folks, how is it that we have gone all these years and not questioned this? Given the fact that I'm not a part of the aristocracy, nor did I graduate fashion school. I don't even know what they give out at fashion school. What I can tell you is that I did graduate from university in the United States. Not only did I graduate with an undergraduate degree, but I went on to complete an advanced degree called a master's. And in each of those instances, you get one diploma. They don't give multiple copies out, just so in case, let's say, it gets wet or your dog eats it, you get one. And if for whatever reason that gets mucked up, you have to call the registrar's office to order another one. They might not even replace it, depending on how old it is. So looking at this already raises a huge red flag. But in any event, let's look closer at the one that we can actually read. Now, before we read any of this, I just want to point out Visually looking at this, it looks off. And that's because that's not a frame designed for a diploma. So it's almost as if they had a frame laying around and they put this in there to get the picture for Inside Edition, and it was all for show. But looking at the actual paper itself, you spend thousands of dollars to go graduate, and this is how you take care of this diploma? You're going to show it off to everyone and it looking all dirty and whatnot? I'm just saying. Perhaps maybe it had to be used to show for employment. I know in some cases people have to do that. But the college normally gives a holder, which brings me to this point, looking at this piece of paper that Samantha is holding in her hand with Meghan. That's not what the University of New Mexico gives out when they give the diplomas out. They give a hard case with the piece of paper when you go up there to receive it, and it looks something like this. But the condition of the paper is really minor. For all we know, Samantha might be like Meghan, in which she doesn't take care of things. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. The point is that we're looking at two different pieces of paper that they've shown us. So looking closer now at this diploma, as it says here, has conferred upon Samantha M. Markle the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Criminology, with all the rights and privileges appertaining to that degree. In testimony, where though the regents of the university, upon recommendation of the faculty, have granted this diploma bearing the seal of the university this 13th day of May, 2006. 2006, folks. Didn't Inside Edition say 2008? Let's rewind.
But here they are at Samantha's college graduation in 2008, 13 years ago.
So if we're going by the legitimacy of this document, that would mean that it would have been 15 years that Samantha had seen Meghan. Not 13, 15, because this was in 2006. Now, we could give the benefit of the doubt to Inside Edition for possibly making a mistake. But I don't think that this was a mistake, because the whole point to Samantha's lawsuit is like, look, we've been close all our lives, and this is me with her at graduation. 13 years versus 15 years. I don't know. I don't think that the difference in gap is all that big, but understand how they manipulated this, because they mentioned this in the very beginning without people seeing the diploma. And then later on in the segment, they went ahead and showed the diploma. So you already forgot that they mentioned that this was supposed to have been done in 2008. You see how the media manipulates us? Very subtle, very small, but here we are accepting it. What I find fascinating, though, is the mini bio that Samantha Markle wrote herself for IMDb, in which it says, born Yvonne Marie Markle, but changed her name to Samantha in the 1990s. She also used the professional name of Grant in the entertainment industry as a broadcaster, actress, producer, and writer. Samantha has worked in the entertainment industry since 1984 as on-air talent, newscaster, and promotions and marketing director for several radio stations. She has appeared on television shows such as Matlock, General Hospital, A Different World, ABC After School Specials, and several commercials for television. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and criminology and a master's degree in both mental health counseling and vocational rehabilitation counseling. She is the daughter of Thomas W. Markle, a successful lighting director and director of photography for the ABC television network for 40 years. She has two siblings, Thomas Markle Jr. and Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. IMDb mini biography by Samantha Markle. So in 2006, Samantha would have been 42 years old. And the reason why I bring this up is because she got her Bachelor of Arts in criminology. Okay, folks, now hear me out and stay with me in this train of thought. In her bio, she specifically states she has a bachelor's degree in psychology and criminology and a master's degree in both mental health counseling and vocational rehabilitation counseling. But she just got done saying that she has been in the entertainment industry since 1984. There is no talk about what she does with this education. Remember, she got this education at 42. So why would you go back to school? If you've been in the entertainment industry, why would you choose psychology and criminology and not talk about anything that you did where you applied this education that you spent thousands of dollars on? Now, mind you, Samantha filed for bankruptcy in 2003. So make it make sense. You're going to put yourself back into debt to get an education that you're not going to even use? No, come on, folks. It's not like Samantha was like graduating fresh out of college and first time into the workforce. You know, a lot of times, yeah, you go to school after high school into college and you choose a major and you just end up not following the field that you went to school for. But in this case, you're 42 years old. You had to have an idea as to why you chose criminology and psychology, but have nothing to show for how you applied that education. So that's another flag. Now, if you made it this far, raise your hand if you think this diploma is fake. I believe, and this is my opinion, that this is fake. And I'm going to show you why. So this is what a current example of the University of New Mexico's diploma looks like, especially if you're double majoring. As it says here, the name, and then it goes the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and then it lists the two areas. On Samantha's, it doesn't have both. It doesn't have criminology and psychology. It should resemble looking like this. Now, there has been a change in the university seal that they emboss on this diploma. Prior to 2013, it's the one that is being shown on Samantha's document or, copy that she has shown the world. Now, this seal is supposed to shine. I don't see any glimmer here. Maybe it's the lighting, but it sure doesn't look like this. The other thing that is standard across the board, not only at this university, but universities across the nation, is who signs the document. And the one person that is on every single diploma is the president of the university. The University of New Mexico has a standard of 4 signatures, and this diploma from 1986 has the president of the regents and the secretary of the regents, as well as the president of the university, and they have listed here secretary of the university. Now, this was back in 1986. Along the way, secretary of the university changes to provost of the university. So as of 1997, up until current today, this is the standard where the president is on it, then the provost, and then on the other side is the president of the regents, and then the secretary of the regents. As you can see here from this diploma, dated 2021, you see the 4 standard signatures. 2023, you see the 4 standard signatures. Even this one from 2019, they have interim provosts of the university. There's no secretary of the university listed. So how is it that Samantha has a so-called degree that doesn't follow this 4-signature format? How is it that this diploma has no president's signature? Instead, the provost of the university is listed first on the right-hand side. You see, I could understand why the president's signature is not on this diploma. That's because that would be considered forgery. So you can see how manipulative this is, because from far away, it looks like it says president, but it says provost, and that's not the place for the provost, as well as they've got secretary of the university, which is a title that was dropped. That technically is the provost of the university. But in any case, what concerns me are the people's names that are legible here that, and I want to say, probably agreed to it. The first one is this Sandra Bagoy Campbell, and she's the secretary of the regents. I'll talk about her more in depth after I talk about Reed Dasenbrock, who is listed as provost of the university. He had to agree to have his name on this. Otherwise, this is forgery. But something tells me that he might have. Let's take a look at who Reed Dasenbrock is. So Dr. Reed Dasenbrock held the position of provost for the University of New Mexico from March 2006 to May of 2007. So Reed Dasenbrock is an interesting figure to come across. His experience spans across academia, literature, and public service, making it fascinating and intriguing for anybody who is interested in talking about the intersection of education, philosophy, and policy making. His life work includes, here's some fun facts that will make your ears perk up. So Dasenbrock began with a strong foundation in the education system, attending McGill University in Canada. But of course, one university is not enough, so he had to go across the pond to Oxford University, and then came back and went to a third university called Johns Hopkins, where he earned his PhD in English. But here's where it gets interesting. His significant roles, of course, was provost at the University of New Mexico for a year. And then he became vice chancellor for academic affairs at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Now, who do we know that's from Hawaii? We'll get there, folks. We'll get there. He's known in the circle of intellectuals for a book called Truth and Consequences. And according to Amazon, this book draws on current analytical philosophy to resuscitate the notion of objective truth and intentionalist models of meaning and interpretation, thereby moving beyond the anti-foundationalism of postmodern theory. To me, this just sounds like he is the father of word salad. Anyway, it addresses the work of Rorty and Fish as representative of literary conventionalism, discusses the futility of Derrida's anti-intentionalism, and shows how post-structuralist thinkers like Althusser and Faussalt have contributed to the new thematics of race, class, gender, and sexual orientation that dominates literary theory today, examining the counter-arguments of conventionalists to have their theory judged by its consequences. Dasenbrock shows how damaging this anti-objectivism and anti-intentionalism have been for literary studies. Is it me, or does this sound like where my truth, not the truth, my truth has originated? So not only is this guy a literary scholar and English professor, but also a superhero in extending beyond the academic world into public policy. So guess what, folks? This guy has served as the Secretary of Higher Education for the state of New Mexico. You don't say, working for the U.S. government. So from what I gather, Reed Dasenbrock recently stepped down from being the chancellor over at the University of Hawaii and now belongs to this Mid-Pacific International Higher Education consultancy. But when you drill down and take a look at what they're about and what they actually do, it's a bit opaque, as it says here that Mid-Pacific International is a globally focused consulting firm based in the middle of the Pacific in Hawaii. We look to make connections and build bridges from North America to Asia and assist Asian institutions, aka China, to become part of the Anglosphere through programs in English, joint programs and connections with universities in the United States, and increasing visibility in the English-speaking world through accreditation and other forms of recognition. Some of the topics that they cover using their expertise focuses on accreditation, articulated degree pathways, educational technology, administration and leadership, multicultural internationalization, globalization, curriculum and program development for workforce development, and strategic and long-range planning and development. It really doesn't tell you very much, but this is what they have on their very bare bones website. Now, there's only 4 people that work at this consultancy firm, and looking at the work that they do, a lot of it with China, in addition to working with USAID, something tells me something else is going on here. Now, I've mentioned this in the past, but USAID is the back channel for the CIA to funnel its money through. This photo that they have up on their website looks oddly familiar. Does anybody think that this is the UN? It's oddly similar, but who knows? Getting back to Reed, though, one last point that I want to make about him. This guy, Reed, then goes over to the University of Hawaii at Manoa to become the vice chancellor for academic affairs. It's a big position. So this happens towards the end of 2009. Then in 2010, the University of Hawaii starts forming the endowment fund to honor Barack Obama's mother. Now, at the time when this endowment was getting started up, Barack Obama couldn't play a role in this, oh no, because he was president of the United States. So who else was in charge of overseeing this? Well, his half-sister, Maya. So Barack's sister definitely had to work with Reed and keep him informed about the endowment's creation, especially if it involved academic programs or faculty positions. You also had to be supportive of the initiatives that align with the university's mission, potentially offering academic or administrative support. I don't know if that's financial, but he had to be supportive. And then he also had to be accountable for the overall academic environment in which such endowments thrive, ensuring that the academic programs benefiting from endowments like this maintain high standards. Now, raise your hand if you think that Reed crossed paths at some point between 2009 and 2016 with Barack Obama at the University of Hawaii. Now, here's a fun fact for you. Back in January of 2016, before anybody knew who Meghan Markle was, the University of Hawaii Manoa Faculty Senate passed a resolution calling for Dasenbrock to be relieved of his position, otherwise fired. He was accused of being hostile towards faculty members and making public threats. Now, according to the local news, Hawaii News Now, Dasenbrock had been accused of bullying, racism, and sexism by nearly 24 faculty members. One of the faculty members, University of Hawaii psychology professor Ashley Maynard, said, "I've been berated and humiliated by him in a meeting with 6 people publicly." Another one says, "And anyone who crosses him or disagrees with him faces this kind of behavior, this retaliation," Maynard said. Now, the whole purpose of bringing this up is to show you that this guy got fired at the beginning or around the beginning of 2016. So naturally, he had time on his hands. When you look at his updated resume and look at his positions, there is a gap between 2016 and 2019. What an odd little window of time to be missing, don't you think? But anyway, getting back to this farce, Samantha Markle wants us to believe that she is a champion for free speech and our Constitution and a supporter in the MAGA movement. But how can you be a conservative and be so right-wing when you're going to a left-wing progressive school? And that's exactly what the University of New Mexico is. So now when you start thinking about this so-called family, Meghan is a progressive liberal. Doria, we know that she leans to the left. Thomas Markle also leans heavily to the left. Let's not forget, he said on Piers Morgan that his first conversation with Harry was over Donald Trump and how annoyed he was with him. Personally, I think that that was a lie. I don't think Thomas Markle ever spoke to Harry. So let's use some common sense here. So Samantha grew up surrounded by these liberal progressives. Then she goes off to a college later in life at 42 that is predominantly liberal progressive. Don't you see what's happening here? In this interview that Samantha did way back in the beginning that nobody really saw, she told us what was happening. Now remember, earlier in this video, I did say that I believe that Samantha is running opposition to get this side comfortable with the idea of taking away more of your freedoms, such as invading your privacy with this digital ID, as well as putting more regulations around social media and hauling people off to jail. It does confirm for me that they want both sides to see the harmful effects of social media and why it needs to be regulated.
Obviously, I think there are similarities here between what you're saying and what your sister is saying and her husband about how they've been treated in the media with false reports and online harassment and trolling. How do you feel? Do you have compassion for them in that way?
I do, and I've also learned through this that, in terms of aggregate news, at one point they were seeing stories probably reacting to what they thought we said or what they thought we were doing. It was very reciprocal. We were reacting. But the bottom line is there was so much propaganda out there that none of us really knew where the truth was. And similarly with the bullying, the people that disagree with her have bullied her to threatening extremes. They bullied Kate and William. They've bullied me, but they have the differences. They have the money and the social or the financial resources to protect themselves against that. A normal person like me and my dad and our family, we don't. We just got caught in the middle of it. But nonetheless, we had the right to speak our feelings.
Keep in mind that this interview was back in 2019. And when you listen to Samantha, she knows a hell of a lot about the media and how the media works and what was going on with the aggregate news. Remember in the Oprah interview, Meghan talks about polarity and how people online like that? Well, what do you think we have here? We have Samantha Markle, who is on the right, and we have Meghan Markle, who is on the left. That's about as polar opposite as you can get. And both of them, even though they're opposite, are working towards the same goal. And that's exactly what's happening here in this psychological warfare that has been unleashed onto all of us and manipulating us to believe this garbage that we're being fed. Think about this. In this early interview, Samantha talks about the mental health of teenagers and the youth around social media. What do you think Harry and Meghan have been banging on about for the last 6 years? And then look at Doria. She goes and gets her master's in psychology. Then you have Nanaki Pretty, who is focused on getting a PhD in brain function. And then you have Samantha, who's also allegedly with a master's in psychology. Let's visit that certificate for the moment. This is supposed to be her degree from New Mexico Highlands University. But when you look at it, none of this looks normal either. So, of course, I went digging to see what the diploma for New Mexico Highlands University looks like, and it looks nothing like this. Now, what you're looking at is a recent diploma from the New Mexico Highlands University. There's a standard seal like the other university, as well as you can see New Mexico Highlands University is in purple. Here is another one from 2021. So allegedly, Samantha Markle got this diploma in 2011. So I dug around and found a diploma from 1997 to see if there were any differences. And sure enough, looking at this one from 1997, it's still the same purple lettering and still with the same purple seal. So looking now at Samantha Markle's diploma, don't you see how ridiculous this all is now? So apparently, the president of New Mexico Highlands University during that time in 2011 was James Fry's. Now, looking at this signature, it sort of looks like it could be James Fry, but not really. You can't really make out what that signature is. And I don't know what his signature looks like to validate whether or not this is authentic. The other thing is the font and the spacing of Samantha's name as well as her degree. Look at the clear difference across all of these diplomas from various years, especially the one from 1997. You notice the ones that are authentic all are the same. But then when you look at Samantha's, not only is it thicker, but the letters are smushed closer together. This is not authentic, in my opinion. Also, the New Mexico Highlands University title there is supposed to be purple. And the other thing that I want to bring up is why is it that Samantha Markle decides to use Samantha Rasmussen when she divorced him in 2003? Here is a certificate that says 2011, and the first degree that she had Samantha Markle on it. Help me understand why she put Rasmussen back on when she had been divorced from him. I mean, what other explanation is there that every single thing, there's like 1,000 questions surrounding it? Nothing is ever straightforward. Everything, other than it being a psyops. Like, we're past the point of saying, yeah, let's give them the benefit of the doubt when there's so much that you can point to that says that it just doesn't add up. It just doesn't make sense. They said this, but now they're saying this. At some point, people have to put their foot down and say, you know what? This is bullshit. This is not real, and you all need to come forward and fess up because the public is tired of this. The public is tired of being lied to and manipulated because that's exactly what is happening here. Now, the last point that I want to make, if we really stop and think here about what this was all about, I go back to the psychological warfare series that I did. This has always been about cognitive security. From day one, when Harry showed up here, what was he banging on about? Mental health. Where did he go work? Better Up, another mental health place that is going after to brainwash our military. Then he's at Invictus, teaching kids resilience. Then you have Archwell Parent Network. What are they doing? Trying to build a better and safer online space by pushing regulation to clamp down on free speech. Then you have Doria, who got a master's in psychology. And then you have Samantha, who's also saying that she's got a master's in psychology. Like, what's the obsession with mental health? What's the obsession with controlling how people think and how they feel? Obviously, this is something that they are so focused on doing, and doesn't matter how outrageous it is, they're doing it. Now, I have to reiterate, I'm not a part of the aristocracy, nor did I go to fashion school, but I can tell you I do have a level of intelligence that what my eyes and my ears are hearing and seeing, as well as critically thinking, I'm able to deduce that this is not normal and this is not right. And I don't care if the Markles get upset that I'm calling them out on their bullshit. It's their words. It's what they have put out there. So don't get mad and go behind the scenes to weaponize other people to keep your hands clean in order to get back to shut criticism down. Now, the only thing that I could find that was truthful about this graduation was Samantha's cap and gown. In 2006, the cap and gowns were silver, and it did happen on May 13th. Now, the only thing that I can say that was truthful about what we were shown with Samantha graduating is the cap and gown. In 2006, the silver gown was the one, as you can see here, that was worn. In addition, it did fall on May 13th. So there you go, folks. The majority of the harm that's being caused online is being caused by the very same people who claim to want to build a better and safer online space. What they have been doing, not only provoking and gaslighting others, as well as trying to negatively affect in a way that does affect your mental state, to me is quite sick. The fact that there are teams out there that are specifically designed to go after certain people relentlessly on a daily basis towards this psychological abuse. This is what we are seeing happen to quite a few of us in this community. Well, I think the first thing is stop paying attention to what others are saying. Their opinions really don't matter in the grand scheme of life. The only person that, and this is my belief, the only person that I have to prove myself to is God. None of these people matter. So all I can do on a daily basis is put God first and focus on trying to please Him than trying to please everybody else. And this is just my belief. I think the more people that do that, the more likely we'll become a less hostile world. But right now, the people that are trying to control all of us don't have that philosophy or thought. Hence the reason why they can be cruel and do the things that they're doing. I know that this is a long video, and if you made it this far, thank you so much. I didn't intend for it to go this long, but this really did have to be put out in a way that people could understand and see it. And like, I really didn't mean to go over. Anyhow, I think this is a good place to stop. I definitely have more that I could talk about, but I'm sure many of you have. Anyhow, I think this is a good place to stop. If you made it this far, I appreciate you listening to what I presented today. Definitely share your thoughts below. I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say about this. I mean, you just can't make it up. At this point, we have to assume everything is a lie until it's proven to be true. And I think that's kind of where we are right now. What do you think about these diplomas? Do you believe Samantha has this background that she went to school with? Also, what do you think about this guy, Reed? Do you think he plays a role in all of this? I don't know if he's connected to the Markles. I don't know what his role is, but I just thought that he was an odd character to point out that potentially maybe he's part of the establishment, the so-called Chia. Anyhow, definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
For someone like me, I'm a counselor. I'm pretty intelligent. I think I can handle it and analyze it for what it is. But for a teenager who's, going through identity crisis and has a self-esteem that's not totally evolved yet, it can be terrifying when you know you're being watched and everything that you do is being twisted and used against you to defame you and to threaten. So, cyberbullying is horrible, and I think that the burden really needs to be on social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of them, especially the new ones coming up, to have strict identification measures in place for its users to prevent this.
You're such a fraud.